I don't think that going to reparative therapy is a good idea. I hated it. It's like forcing an introvert to learn how to be the life of the party. I was raised Mormon and came out of the closet while I was a freshman at Brigham Young University in 1997. And in the first week after coming out, my parents were beginning to come to terms with it. Things seemed to be going well. And then my mom called the church social services department and they told her, "Don't worry, there's a cure, your son just needs to go to therapy," and made it sound as though I had something like depression that I could handle with a therapist. So they called me and put a lot of pressure on me to go see someone in Salt Lake City, which was an hour drive away from where I was at Brigham Young. And I met with someone up there named Dean Bird, who I later learned was a central figure involved with the NARTH organization. And Dean told me all about how sexual orientation is changeable and curable, and that the correct orientation for a man is to be attracted to a woman and to have children. And he gave me a little pamphlet to take home that had a picture of a success story couple with an ex-lesbian and an ex-gay man who were now happily married and living in suburban Salt Lake City with their children. And I didn't end up having therapy with him, but I did have 2 or 3 other reparative therapists in that first year and a half after I came out of the closet. And what I ultimately came to learn from those people was something quite more conservative in scope than what Dean Bird had originally told me. So what they had told me was that it's not possible to change a man's sexual orientation, but you can develop a strong person-centered orientation toward one woman who will be your wife and your companion. The idea that there was something wrong with me, I had already begun to develop a certain kind of self-acceptance at that point, but it was still very fledgling. And getting all of these messages that something core to who I was, something that was unchangeable, something that had been there from the very earliest memories of my life, was somehow wrong, obviously what was damaging to my sense of self-worth, my ability to care for myself, take good care of myself too. I think that NARTH and other ex-gay organizations do a great deal of damage to people in the process of coming out, especially with their families, because they communicate a really strong message that sexual orientation change is possible. And this gives families false hope. It gives families a leg to stand on in threatening their children in a variety of ways. I have one friend who told me that his mother threatened to have his childhood dog put to sleep if he didn't go see his reparative therapist. And obviously this was a loving mother who only thought that she was threatening something like that because she thought her son's life, her son's soul was at stake. If organizations like NARTH didn't communicate this kind of false hope, then I don't think that families would be inhibited in their process of coming out. Initially, my parents were really unhappy about it. They thought that I was walking away from a win-win situation, and I remember distinctly being told that I was choosing a life of heartache and despair. That's a quote that has stuck out in my memory. It's been a long time since then. In fact, I've noted the day of my coming out every year, and on the 10th anniversary of my coming out, I called my mom just to chat, and we ended up talking about my sexual orientation, and she said to me, "You know, it's been a long time, and for a long time I thought I couldn't handle this, and I've really come to accept that you're gay and that that's great and fine." And so our relationship has improved dramatically since the first days of my coming out.
And Dad?
Dad, same thing. My father is actually Jewish and a Reformed Jew, and I think he was always probably a little bit more accepting of me being gay. Certainly it's the case now in his congregation. His rabbi is a lesbian and definitely very accepting now.